Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona. It's time for Valley Business Radio, spotlighting the Valley's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Valley Business Radio, where we tell the stories that traditional media tends to ignore and help connect you to the right people. I'm your host, Dr. Adrian McIntyre, and I'm joined in the studio today by Scott Hansen and Abby Fink, publishers of the Arizona 100. Welcome, Scott. Welcome, Abby.
Thanks for having us.
Good to see you again.
What is the Arizona 100? Tell us a little bit about this unique publication.
Well, the Arizona 100 is a twice-monthly e-publication featuring articles that are exactly 100 words long. And what our research has found, and through our partners across the country, is that our attention span is shrinking, limited. And when we get to 100 words, we're done with an article. So that's what we've done. And the Arizona 100 focuses on articles that are important to people in Arizona. They deal with openings of restaurants, economic development activities, a lot of thought leadership, really kind of a way for people in Arizona to keep track of what's going on across the state.
I mean, not unlike really what the Valley Business Radio X is, right? It's bringing stories to life that might not otherwise have a platform. As Scott mentioned, 100 words. Amazing how difficult it is to get really good content in 100 words or less. Or not even less, 100 words. Done.
Don't remember who it was, Winston Churchill or somebody of that stature, who said, I wrote a long speech because I didn't have the time to write a short one. Right. It's hard.
It's very hard.
To write something that concise and still communicate something of value.
Right.
How often does the publication come out, and how do people connect with it?
It comes out twice a month. You can subscribe at thearizona100.com. They are 15 stories per issue. And as Scott said, news of interest to businesses in Arizona. So it's arts, entertainment, culture, openings, really great content in small portions so that you can consume it in a way that we as news consumers now do that, right? We're on our devices. We're quick. We're fast. We don't have time to read full stories or concepts of what full stories are. So 100 words is about what you can see on your screen. And with scrolling through, you can get through it in about 10 minutes to read the whole thing? Probably.
Exactly. And also, this is a great platform for HMA Public Relations, which is sort of the parent of the Arizona 100, if you will, providing a whole new alternative platform to communicate stories of clients and non-clients across the state.
I think this is so valuable, such a contribution to the business community and really the community at large. Because, as I've often said, and of course we are co-located with HMA Public Relations, so I get to see what's going on around this office. The two of you and the rest of the team here have such a deep sense of what's going on around the Valley. You're so connected through many years of work and experience and commitment to different communities. So all of that shows up in a way through the lens of the Arizona 100. Now, you've got an issue coming up. Tell us what's in the next issue.
Be happy to. So, we find our stories for the Arizona 100 in a variety of different ways. They come from communications professionals across the state. We learn about information because we're consuming information as well. So one of the really exciting stories that we're featuring in this coming issue is a story about Ford Motor Company. And they have a incredible sustainability initiative within the company. And they right now are recycling upwards of 1.2 billion plastic bottles, and they're using those bottles to create the undercarriages of some of their vehicles across the country. And when you think about a car, you don't necessarily think about recycling, but you know how much, as consumers, we're putting out there into our recycle bins. And so Ford has found a way to take that information or take that product and repurpose it. And so we've got a small feature story with some video on what Ford is doing to help our environment and reuse and repurpose plastic bottles. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. As Abby said, you wouldn't think that an auto manufacturer would be on that side of the sustainability story.
It's so important. It's something that people are becoming increasingly aware of, the untenability of some of our large-scale practices. So it's great to see a company like Ford leading in that regard.
It is. And another article we've got coming up comes from the Navajo Nation up in northeastern Arizona. There's a Girl Scout troop up there, and the girls are working on a badge, right? And they have gone, or they're planning on going on a 200-mile, 8-city bike ride.
8 days.
Or 8 days, I'm sorry. Across
8
the
cities would
reservation.
be impressive.
They probably will. Across 8 villages up there on the Navajo Reservation. And what a cool story this is for all of these girls to be involved in this. And they range from 6 to 15 years old. And part of the program is that they're giving bikes out, right?
Yeah, there's an organization called Project Bike Love, and they reached out to the Girl Scouts, and they were able to outfit the girls with bikes and helmets and pads and such. And this journey that these girls are going to be taking has a lot of benefit. It's not only about learning about the history of the Navajo Nation and self-sufficiency while they're out on the bike paths, but they're also getting healthy exercise, learning how to manage within a group, and create this opportunity to be out on the road for that amount, 200 miles. I'm not sure I could do it.
Yeah,
I know I couldn't.
That's a significant undertaking. A few years ago, I rode the AIDS Life Cycle ride in California, which goes from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and it was a full 7 days on the bike, and it's no joke. Girl Scouts doing such important work in training and developing young women, introducing them to leadership, to business, to community relations. Really inspiring to hear about that. What else is coming up?
Well, before we get off on that, really, that's really important for us at HMA Public Relations too, because we have so much experience working on tribal lands, and to have a story of something like this magnitude coming from the Navajo Nation is just kind of fulfilling for us because we have such a long history with working with tribes across Arizona and really the Southwest. So, but we talk about the Arizona 100, and it is a statewide publication. We have an article coming from Marana, Arizona, which is just north of Tucson, of course, and they are going to have their very first C-STEM K through 8 school that is very unusual because the kids there in the school will be able to have access to all the C-STEM type activities, but they'll also be able to go outside and I guess more of a hands-on kind of a school is probably the best way to describe it. It's being built by the Chase Building Team, and it's kind of a virtual reality and has kind of all the modern touches, I guess, that you would for today's learning environment.
Right, and that's really an advancement in education these days, right? As kids need experiences that are not just on textbooks in the classroom. And so what development organizations like Chase Building Team and others that are constructing schools within in school districts here in Arizona across the country are really paying attention to what else kids need in order to further their academic success. So it is textbook learning, but how do we apply that textbook learning into real time? And of course, science and technology, engineering, mathematics, the things that are so important, and for boys and girls, because we always know we have to emphasize the fact that these are for all the kids. So this school is going to see their first kids on August 5th. They'll be welcoming their first group of students. And there's nothing more exciting if you ever get the chance to be at a school when the first kids show up. There's a sense of pride there that does not exist anywhere else but that first set of graduating students. So it's pretty cool.
That's marvelous. And I didn't know until very recently that the C in C-STEM stands for computer science. So we're talking about a full curriculum for the future. Computer science, technology, engineering, math, all the kinds of things that are going to help this generation create what's next.
Right.
Really exciting.
Right. And I think maybe we're kind of touching on a little theme here in this issue, which I hadn't realized till we started talking about it, but really is about arts and culture and exposing people to new and different things. And one of the great opportunities in our state is something called the Act One Culture Pass. And this gives Arizona residents the chance to experience arts and culture across the state. So if you have a library card. If you don't, you need to get one. You can pick up these free passes at 64 different libraries across the state and get the chance to go to museums and culture and just incredible things at no cost. Yeah. All for your free library card.
I personally, our family benefits from this. We love the Culture Pass. We've gone to the Symphony. We've gone to the Arizona Science Center, a number of different museums. They've got a wonderful array of things that families and solo people can benefit from.
Right, and it's a great chance to experience some things that you might not otherwise get the chance to do. And the passes I think they last for about a week. So you get the chance to go experience it, go back to your library, check out another pass, go visit another museum, symphony, concert, whatever that might be. Whatever is of interest to you and your family, it's perfect.
Quick pro tip on this. They work like a book. So once somebody's checked it out, you have to wait till they bring it back, so to speak. But it's a week. So find out when they're available, go in, be the first one in the door, and you can get the best culture passes that each library has. And they have different ones in different branches. So get out there and check them out.
So we probably should have a bit of a public service announcement since we're heading into the summer months, and Scott has a huge thing about weather in Arizona weather. So.
I think so, probably because I've lived here my whole life, and I think I've lived through 3 or 4 100-year floods in my lifetime. But the Arizona monsoon season has arrived. So we have an article from Bianca Hernandez at the National Weather Service really calling attention to the fact that it is the monsoon season and that you do need to be aware of what's going on with the weather. Sometimes we get our storms that are very violent, and you just have to pay attention. You really have to be aware of Arizona at this time of the year. And there are some things you can do. You can subscribe to apps from the National Weather Service and their Twitter feeds and those types of things, just so you know what's going on and you don't put yourself or your family in danger due to the weather.
And when your phone beeps, right, goes off, everybody's cell phones go off, pay attention to those warnings.
They're no joke. The severe dust warnings, the severe flooding warnings. Number one thing I learned moving here to the desert from California is don't drive into water on the road. If you see water ahead of you, regardless of how you think it's going to go, stop the car, don't pull into the water.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
And of course, now we have laws here in Arizona called the stupid motorist laws, where if you do drive in there and first responders come to rescue you, you may be faced with paying the bill to be rescued.
And those helicopters and deployments of fire trucks are not cheap. So stay out of the water that's running across the road.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Now, that's not the only thing coming up. 4th of July is on the horizon.
Right. Can you believe that? We have 4th of July already coming up. So I did a little bit of research because, 4th of July, fireworks, barbecues, right? Declaration of Independence. Well, did you know that the Declaration of Independence wasn't actually signed on the 4th of July?
How about that?
Who knew? Clearly I didn't. So I looked it up and found out some additional information, but it was actually voted on July 2nd, and copies were distributed, but the final version of the Declaration of Independence didn't come into play until August 2nd. How about that? But we're going to celebrate it on the 4th, and this year the 4th falls on a Thursday, so that probably means a lot of you are going to have a 3-day weekend.
4-day weekend.
True. 4-day weekend. 3-day work week, 4-day weekend. Take Friday off. Enjoy it with your family. Be safe. Sunscreen, pay attention to the weather, and read the Arizona 100.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a perfect 4th of July activity.
Now, there's one additional story that you've got coming up on women's rights and ranking the best and the worst states for women's rights. So from celebration to a reality check, what's the story here on women's rights?
Sure. So there's an organization called security.org, and they did a study recently to rank the best and worst states for women's rights. Arizona's right in the middle, 27, so that's not fabulous, but not horrible either. But they ranked on a variety of different things: economic freedom, education, reproductive rights, participation in politics. And they took data from the Census Bureau and kind of looked it across. So among the best states, Washington, D.C., Maine, New Hampshire, Oregon, Iowa, the state of Washington, Hawaii, that's pretty awesome, I think, Nevada and Colorado. Ranking towards the bottom, Louisiana, Arkansas, Utah, Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Indiana, Tennessee, and Georgia. And like I said, Arizona right in the middle. So room for improvement. I think we'll see some of the some interesting conversations in the coming months as the political structure changes in our country. So we'll see how we come up on next year's survey. And
you mentioned room for improvement. We do have a couple other articles that'll be in this next issue. One is 3 ways to boost your productivity. We also have some tips on passwords that will be in there as well. So overall, the Arizona 100, again, providing a lot of useful information coming from business leaders and political leaders and government leaders from across Arizona. So it's a pretty interesting publication and has a lot of good, useful information.
And as you can tell just from this preview, really covering a wide variety of topics of concern to businesses and communities throughout the great state of Arizona. Scott Hansen, Abby Fink, publishers of the Arizona 100. You can subscribe to the publication. There's no charge to subscribe. It is available at thearizona100.com. You can read more about these stories, and every 2 weeks, you can have a fresh batch of stories in your inbox, ready to consume, 100 words or less. Thanks for joining us here in the studio today.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
For all of us here at Business Radio X, this is Dr. Adrian McIntyre, and we'll see you next time on Valley Business Radio.